but it is one of the people involved with him, and it's the case involving Ethan Ralph. Ethan Ralph from the world famous Kill Stream. And if you guys remember hearing, he ended up with a charge of contempt of court because he recorded. I think it's because ultimately he recorded the things the way I understood it, because he ended up streaming it. And I said this from the start. I thought this was pretty ticky-tack for them to get him on. Honestly, I think it was. I thought it was bullshit. Ultimately, if the court is broadcasting it out to the world, that's the way it goes. And I think it was truly, shitty of them to do that to him, especially working as being a journalist.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
At the end of the day, he's reporting on an event of newsworthy value. So, I think it was truly shitty for him. Let's see here. So ultimately with Ralph, he ended up being charged. And the weird thing was they put a nationwide warrant out for him, which, around here, the only time you're getting like nationwide warrants are like if you're a felony and you go capious, you go like a felony bench warrant or just a felony warrant in general. The idea that you'd have like some sort of ticky-tack bullshit misdemeanor and they're putting out a nationwide warrant on you with a nationwide pickup, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, so what happened in Ralph's case? Well, we have an update on it. And this is a preliminary settlement offer that was set up between Ralph and the prosecution out there in Stearns County. Because remember, this is not in Candioi County. This is in Stearns County where Aaron got arraigned on his charges. And so this is the case versus Ethan Oliver Ralph. And here's the case number. And they said, based upon this, so he pled guilty to 1 count of misdemeanor contempt of court. His presumptive sentence is a presumptive maximum of 90 days. It's being stayed for 1 year, meaning it's being held off for 1 year. He's got probation for 1 year. It's unsupervised, meaning he doesn't have to show up. He doesn't have to do drug tests. I don't even think they're going to make him call in. He just has to stay out of trouble. Basically, if we don't hear from you, you won't hear from us. And as long as they don't hear him causing any problems, then they won't ever have a problem with him. His fine is a $500 fine, which I know Aaron was saying that that's too much, but I don't. Whatever it is, apparently it's something he's agreed to. I assume the court wouldn't overly fine him, so I'd assume Aaron's probably wrong on that one, ultimately. And this was a petition to enter his guilty plea here. So anyways, this was proposed by the assistant attorney. And if you guys notice this name, Kerry Dolan, this is the same district attorney who is involved with Aaron's case. Like, if you guys notice the names, and there's, you're kind of involved in the stuff you're dealing with. Spud Gun, yes, I did get your email, by the way. And I don't know why this is not zoomed in better. Sorry, chat. So his also, I forgot to mention the other conditions here are remain law-abiding and no similar or same offenses, which, that's a very typical, no same or similar offense for the term probation or remain law-abiding. That's basically unsupervised probation. And anyways, this is his guilty plea. And here's how it goes through it. He says, I'm the defendant in this case. My full name's Ethan Oliver Ralph. My birth date is 9/20/85. I'm charged with misdemeanor contempt of court. I'm pleading guilty because, and this is where, this is his elocution of facts that on September 3rd, 2024, the city of St. Cloud, County of Stearns, I committed the following acts. And these state sufficient facts. In this part here, this is a statement of facts sufficient to establish a factual basis for all elements of the offenses to which the defendant is pleading guilty. So this is just him acknowledging and agreeing that this thing right here is enough to satisfy all elements of the offenses he's pleading guilty to, and establishes the factual basis. And that way, he can't later go back in court, try to file an appeal, say, well, I never pled to that. That wasn't right. There's not enough evidence. No, he's agreeing this is a sufficient factual basis, meaning they have met every and all burden beyond a reasonable doubt. And because you're pleading guilty, that kind of takes care of that issue. Now, he attended, and here's the thing, it says that he attended a Zoom hearing involving Aaron on September 3rd, 2024. During the hearing, the judge advised, pursuant to the general rules of practice, there is no recording of the court proceedings, and any violation of that rule is punishable by contempt of court. Despite this warning, he continued to live stream the proceedings and thereby recorded the court proceedings, which, I mean, if I don't know, like, are there really truly any streaming services where you just go and it doesn't record? I mean, Twitch, like, everybody does. The recording was saved via an online platform. The court proceedings took place in St. Cloud in Stearns County. Like I said, I think this is bullshit for him, but I am glad that he got his warrant taken care of. I'm glad that he's got this resolved. I do think it's shitty that he ended up having to plead to a misdemeanor that, you know, with 90 days hanging over his head. I do think that's a bit shitty. I'm glad he can freely travel again. But like I said, I don't like how this worked out and how this happened. He goes on to say, I understand the maximum sentence is 90 days imprisonment and a fine of $1,000 or both. He has the right to an attorney. And except here, he's waiving an attorney. He gave up his right to be represented by an attorney. And any right that he might have to request an attorney be appointed to him. And he says, I've been in communication with the prosecutor's office, and I understand that the prosecutor in this case is not my attorney. And then this is something, guys, you will see in every plea form, that you give up your following constitutional rights. Now, this is interesting in Minnesota. It's a right to a trial by jury of 6 persons. And I wonder if that's for felonies as well. But even here in Ohio, you get tried by 12 for a felony and 8 for a misdemeanor. A jury all must agree unanimously if they find you guilty. The right to confront and cross-examine your witnesses. The right to remain silent. You also have the right to testify for yourself. If you choose to remain silent, no one can comment on your decision to remain silent or use it against you. The right to subpoena witnesses and use compulsory process and make those witnesses testify in my defense. The right to a pretrial hearing to contest the admissibility at trial, any confessions or admissions, or any evidence obtained from a search and seizure. These are the rights Ralph has by entering the guilty plea. He waives those. He says, I'm entering my guilty plea freely and voluntarily and without any promises except indicated below. And then he's saying, I'm pleading guilty because I am in fact guilty. I am not pleading guilty just to quash the warrant and avoid apprehension as a result of the warrant. Now, I don't know if that's a standard thing they put in or they just put it in for this one, but that is interesting. You don't see those around here. You don't see those around here. He says he's pleading guilty to the sole count, 90 days of jail stayed, no upfront jail time, probation of the court is unsupervised. He pays a fine amount of $500 and the law library fee of $89. Remain law-abiding, no similar offenses. Warrant to be quashed upon, and quashed means just removed and recalled upon the entry of the guilty plea and sentencing. So it's not done yet, but this will take care of his warrant when he gets sentenced. It sounds like they will let him appear by Zoom for that, because obviously making him show up just for that would be an even bigger dickhead move, in my opinion. And he does say that if the court doesn't approve this agreement, I have the right to withdraw my guilty plea and have a trial, which that's interesting because here that's, there aren't any, that's not something you get the right to in your plea forms. You're entering a plea. Now, generally, most of the time, the court lets you know ahead of time, I'm not accepting this plea when you give them the terms before you sign the documents. If the court of guilty plea is accepted, I have the right to be present at the time of sentencing and to speak or present mitigation evidence on my behalf. He says, I hereby knowingly and voluntarily give my right to be present when my plea is entered. And he says, I hereby knowingly and voluntarily giving up my right to be present at sentencing and request the court sentence me in my absence, but according to any plea agreement that might be contained in this petition. Now, that is, I don't know if that allows him to show up by Zoom or he's just not going to have it at all. We'll find out as it goes forward. He says, I understand that I'm not a citizen of the United States. My plea of guilty could result in deportation, exclusion from admission to the U.S., or denial of naturalization. Ralph doesn't have to worry about that because he is a United States citizen. The only thing I wonder is, does this hurt him in Mexico? Because he is, I think he is, I don't know if he's a permanent resident of Mexico, but he's got long-term residency there. I wonder if this will be a problem for him or not. I don't know. I really don't know about that. Anyway, there is Ralph's all his stuff. And I know the judge is going to accept it because Ralph had mentioned it, and I think the judge is working on it. But that is where the judge will do their thing and get it done. And from here, the warrant has been recalled, and that's been recalled as of December 4th. So to all law enforcement, that's the way this gets entered in their databases, whoever's in charge. You're notified the warrant for Ralph is recalled, and this is sent to the Stearns County Sheriff's Office, so they input it in the lead system, and therefore that will catch up and override the existing warrant. So that's kind of where we are with everything. Sleazy's saying, is this actually a sign of how done the courts are with the Baldo antics and anyone involved? I think very much so, and it's different because usually this doesn't happen. It's usually because this doesn't happen, guys. Normally, people get away with, and like I said, I think in Ralph's case, it's shitty this happened to him. But a lot of things where you're dealing with law, people doing retarded things and getting in trouble with footage or rules, nothing happens to him. Nothing happens to him, and it's a complete disaster. Nothing happens, and the person goes on to cause problems, and things go out of the way. But this time, yeah, things are a little different. Things are a little bit different. So it's something to consider. It's something to look at as far as be very careful, because you might be dealing with people who are tired of bullshit or won't tolerate it to start with. And if they won't tolerate it, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So be very careful where you fuck around. Be very careful. That's my only recommendation to you. So let's see where you guys are here. It still goes as permanent record. Well, Bass Kicker is saying, how does this interact with the suspended sentence for Virginia? I don't know how Virginia is going to look at it. They might consider it a problem. They might not. It's up to them. It's all up to them. I didn't even know if he was on supervision still at Virginia. Trump once says $500 is a lot of cash to cough up. It's a lot of cash for anybody. I mean, hell, if I wouldn't want to pay $500, that would suck. That would totally suck. James says that $500 won't be tax-free. Well, oh. Yeah, I thought he was done with Virginia too, but he might not be. We don't really know. That's the issue there. Let's see. I mean, this is, if you're going to do Baldo antics, do it in Jamaica, yes. And Spuggun saying, quick query, can a judge reject a guilty plea? Yes. I mean, if the judge thinks the terms of a plea are not proper or just, I mean, the court has the right to reject a plea if they don't think, for example, if the prosecution and the defense give, hey, judge, here's what we're going to do. The judge can look at you and say, I ain't doing that. We're not doing that. That's ridiculous. That happens very rarely, but it does. There are times where pleas do get rejected, though, because the defendant, when it comes to the time where you have to elocute and say, hey, here's what I did, and the court will say, okay, well, you're pleading guilty. What did you do? And then I've had clients go, well, and they hem and haw around an issue. For example, if they were shoplifting, and they got caught shoplifting. They'll say, "Well, it was actually my brother. He was running the scanner. I was just loading things. I didn't know he was doing that. I thought he was paying for everything, but I didn't steal anything." Well, because they're trying to minimize their conduct, and it's clear, on camera, it's clear they did what they did. But they're trying to minimize their conduct with the judge, and the judge saying, "Well, if you're not admitting to it, then I can't take your guilty plea because the court won't accept your plea if you won't admit to it." So I've had courts for like, "All right, fine, we'll set it for trial." I've had felony cases where the guy will him and haw about an issue, and we end up having to set it for trial. Now, that's when you take your client to the side, say, "You've got to be a fucking big boy and fucking actually admit to what you did here, or you're going to have to go to trial." And usually you come in like a day or two later and they act like a big kid and own up for what they've done and you move on with your life. But that is, the court can reject pleas at times. It can reject a plea at a time. Or if they think there's any coercion, duress, they don't understand what's going on, that'll happen too. But not just if everything's set accordingly, the judge doesn't let you get all the way through to the end and say, "I'm not accepting this." That usually doesn't happen. If the judge doesn't want to deal with it, they'll let you know right off the bat.